My boss came to our house and mocked my husband for being a loser. This ended horribly. I'm sitting at my vanity, applying my mascara with precise, practiced strokes. My reflection stares back at me. Sarah Bennett, 33, marketing director at Apex Solutions, with my sleek bob and designer blouse that cost more than what some people make in a week. There's a soft knock at the bathroom door. "Honey, breakfast is ready when you are," says Michael, my husband of 7 years. I don't look away from the mirror as I swipe on a final coat. "Thanks, I'll be down in a minute." I'm thinking, God, he's so predictable. Every morning, the same routine, the same gentle voice. Doesn't he ever get tired of being so ordinary? I click the mascara shut and examine my reflection with satisfaction. My wedding ring catches the light, a 1.5 carat diamond that I sometimes wish was bigger when I see what other executives' wives wear. I push that thought away. Downstairs in our modest suburban kitchen, Michael has laid out avocado toast and fresh fruit, my usual. He's already dressed for work in his high school teacher's uniform, khakis and a button-down shirt, nothing flashy. At 38, his hairline is starting to recede slightly, but he's still handsome in that dependable, unassuming way. "Big day today?" he asks, sliding a cup of coffee toward me. "Almond milk, 1 sugar, just how I like it." "Huge," I reply, scrolling through emails on my phone. "Catherine's coming over tonight, remember? My new boss. I told you about this last week." I glance up to see his face fall slightly. "What?" "I thought we were going to watch that documentary tonight," he says, referring to some nature show he'd been excited about. I roll my eyes. "This is important, Michael. Catherine is the youngest VP in company history. Do you know how rare it is for her to accept a dinner invitation from someone at my level? This could be my chance to fast-track my promotion." He nods, that resigned smile forming on his face that I've grown so accustomed to seeing. "Of course. What time should I start cooking?" "I ordered catering," I say, feeling a twinge of something, guilt, that I quickly dismiss. "Just please make sure the house is spotless, okay? No papers or tests or whatever scattered around." "Those whatever papers are my students' college application essays," he says quietly. "But don't worry, I'll clear them away." I'm already back to my phone, half listening. "Great. Thanks, babe." As I gather my things to leave, Michael hands me my travel mug with fresh coffee. "Have a great day, Sarah. I love you." "Love you too," I mutter, my mind already at the office, barely registering his kiss on my cheek. I'm sitting in my car, gripping the steering wheel, thinking, why can't he be more ambitious? More exciting? Here I am climbing the corporate ladder, and he's content teaching 17-year-olds about Shakespeare for the rest of his life. What happened to the guy who talked about writing novels and traveling the world? The truth is, I know exactly what happened. Michael supported me through my MBA while working 2 jobs. He put his dreams on hold so I could chase mine. And somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing that as sacrifice and started seeing it as weakness. I'm standing in my kitchen at 6:45 p.m., frantically arranging canapes on our good plates while the caterer finishes setting up the main course. The house smells like expensive food and the pretentious scented candles I bought specifically for tonight. Michael is upstairs changing into the outfit I laid out for him, a navy blazer and slacks that I insisted would make him look more successful than his usual attire. "How do I look?" Michael asks, appearing in the doorway. I glance up and frown slightly. "Your tie is crooked." I step forward to fix it, smoothing the silk against his chest. "Remember what we talked about. Catherine is all about success and status. Just try to sound impressive, okay?" He raises an eyebrow. "You mean lie about what I do?" "Not lie," I say quickly. "Just emphasize the important parts. You're shaping young minds. You're preparing the next generation. Don't focus on the grading papers and classroom management stuff." The doorbell rings before he can respond. I take a deep breath, straighten my designer dress, and think, please don't embarrass me tonight, Michael. Just this once, try to be the kind of man who impresses someone like Catherine. "Showtime," I whisper, and plaster on my best corporate smile. Catherine Mason is exactly what I expected. Sharp, polished, intimidating. At 42, she's all sleek blonde hair, killer heels, and a handshake that means business. She arrives with a bottle of expensive wine and a calculating smile. "Sarah, darling, What a charming home, she says, her eyes sweeping our living room with the quick assessment of someone who's already cataloging its value. Thank you for coming, I say, taking her coat. This is my husband, Michael. Michael steps forward with his warm smile, the one that makes his students trust him and that usually makes me feel safe. Tonight, though, I'm wishing he had something more powerful. Pleasure to meet you, he says. Sarah speaks very highly of you. Catherine gives him a once-over that feels more dismissive than curious. Michael, what is it you do? I teach English at Westlake High School, he says, and I immediately tense. A teacher, how noble, Catherine says with the kind of smile that doesn't reach her eyes. She turns to me. Sarah, be a dear and pour me some wine. I need to hear all about that North Star proposal you mentioned. Dinner proceeds with Catherine dominating the conversation, talking about revenue streams and market penetration, while occasionally throwing questions at Michael that seem designed to highlight the gap between our careers. So, Michael, what's the salary ceiling for a high school teacher these days? She asks between bites of her salmon. I'm sitting there, wine glass clenched too tightly in my hand, thinking, why did I ever think this was a good idea? She's sizing him up like he's nothing. Michael answers graciously. It's not about the money for me. Seeing a student grasp a difficult concept or find their voice through writing, that's worth more than any paycheck. Catherine laughs. It's a sharp sound that cuts through the dining room. How charmingly idealistic. Though I imagine Sarah's salary must make up for those noble sacrifices. I laugh nervously. We manage just fine. Of course you do, Catherine says, her eyes flicking to our modest dining room furniture. Though I imagine with your potential, Sarah, managing won't be necessary much longer. The VP position I mentioned comes with quite the compensation package. I feel myself lean forward eagerly. I've been working on some ideas for the department restructuring you mentioned. Catherine waves her hand dismissively. We'll discuss work tomorrow. Tell me, Michael, have you always wanted to be a teacher? No dreams of something more ambitious? The way she says ambitious makes it sound like an essential quality Michael lacks. I considered other paths, Michael says evenly, but teaching found me, and I've never regretted it. Fascinating, Catherine says, clearly not fascinated at all. She turns to me. Sarah, you never mentioned your husband was such a, what's the word? Altruist. There's something in her tone, a challenge perhaps, or an invitation to join in her dismissal of Michael's career. And God help me, after 3 glasses of wine and with the promise of promotion dancing in my head, I take the bait. Oh, Michael's always been the sensitive one, I say with a laugh that sounds foreign to my own ears. Someone has to balance out my cutthroat tendencies, right? Catherine smirks. Indeed. Though in my experience, successful women need partners who can match their ambition, not temper it. I'm nodding, feeling the warm flush of wine and Catherine's approval. That's what I keep telling him. He could do so much more, but he's content with his little classroom and his stack of papers. Michael sets down his fork quietly. I barely notice. Let me tell you about my husband, Catherine continues. He started his own tech company 3 years ago. Just sold it for 8 figures. Now that's the kind of partner who understands ambition. That's amazing, I gush. Michael used to talk about writing a novel, but well, I gesture vaguely, the wine making me loose-lipped. You know how dreams go. I don't see the hurt flash across Michael's face, but I should have. I should have seen it all coming. Catherine leans forward, voice lowering conspirationally. Between us, Sarah, you've got what it takes to go all the way in this company, but you might want to consider if you've got the right support system at home. Success requires sacrifices, and sometimes that means outgrowing certain situations. I'm nodding, caught up in her approval, when Michael stands up abruptly. Excuse me, he says quietly. I just remembered I need to finish grading some papers. See what I mean? I laugh, the sound brittle even to my own ears. Always with the papers. Catherine joins in my laughter as Michael leaves the room. Oh, darling, he seems sweet, but honestly, a high school teacher? You could do so much better. And instead of defending my husband, I lean in closer. Sometimes I wonder what I was thinking, I confess, the alcohol making me reckless. He was so different when we met, ambitious, creative. Now he's just safe. Safe is for retirement accounts, not husbands, Catherine says decisively. Men like that, the losers who settle for mediocrity, they'll only drag you down. I don't notice that Michael has returned to the hallway outside the dining room. I don't see him standing there, frozen, as Catherine's words echo through our home. I don't see his face as I fail to contradict her, as I laugh along with her cruel assessment. I'm too busy trying to impress the woman who holds my professional future in her hands to notice that I'm destroying the foundation of my personal life. I'm standing in our kitchen at midnight, loading the dishwasher after Catherine has finally left. The dinner was a success by all professional measures. Catherine hinted strongly that I was her top choice for the promotion. Yet there's a hollow feeling in my stomach that has nothing to do with the rich food or expensive wine. Michael, I call up the stairs. No answer. I find him in our bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed, still fully dressed in the outfit I chose. He's staring at a framed photo on his nightstand, us on our wedding day, both beaming with hope and promise. Hey, I say, leaning against the doorframe. Catherine loved the dinner. I think the promotion is practically mine. He doesn't look up. Congratulations. I'm standing there, my head slightly fuzzy from the wine, thinking, why isn't he happy for me? This is what we've been working toward. Are you mad about something? I ask, irritation creeping into my voice. Michael finally looks up, and the expression on his face makes my stomach drop. It's not anger I see, it's something worse. Disappointment, hurt, resignation. You think I'm a loser, he says quietly. I blink, taken aback. What? No, I don't. I heard you, Sarah, both of you. His voice is steady, controlled. Through the dining room door, every word. The memory of what Catherine said, what I agreed with, comes rushing back, and I feel a cold wave of shame wash over me. But instead of immediately apologizing, I go on the defensive. You're overreacting, I say dismissively. Catherine was just being Catherine. I was playing along for work. You know how important this promotion is to me. Important enough to humiliate your husband? To agree when someone calls him a loser who's dragging you down? Michael stands up now, his height, which once made me feel protected, suddenly making me feel small. It wasn't like that, I insist, even though we both know it was exactly like that. 7 years, he says, more to himself than to me. 7 years I've supported you, cheered for you, loved you. And all this time, you've been. He trails off, shaking his head. I feel panic rising in my chest. Michael, come on. It was just talk. Corporate nonsense. Was it? He looks at me directly now. Be honest, Sarah, not with me, with yourself. Was it really just talk, or is that how you actually see me? I open my mouth to deny it, but no words come out. The truth is lodged somewhere between my pride and my shame, and I can't quite reach it. Michael nods slowly, reading my silence correctly. That's what I thought. He walks past me to the guest room, the soft click of the door closing behind him, more devastating than if he had slammed it. I'm sitting on our bed alone, head in my hands, thinking, what have I done? I crossed a line tonight. But he's overreacting, right? It was just words. But deep down, I know it wasn't just words. It was a betrayal of the worst kind. A public dismissal of everything Michael is, everything he's done for me, everything we've built together. I lie awake all night, expecting him to come back to our bed. He doesn't. The next morning, I'm in the kitchen when Michael comes downstairs, dressed for work as if nothing has happened. There are shadows under his eyes that match my own. Michael, about last night, I have to get to school early, he interrupts, not meeting my gaze. Parent-teacher conferences. Can we talk about this tonight? I ask, a note of desperation in my voice. He pauses at the door. What is there to talk about, Sarah? You made your feelings very clear. And then he's gone, leaving me alone with the wreckage of what I've done. I'm sitting at my desk at Apex Solutions, staring at my computer screen without seeing it. It's been 3 days since the dinner with Catherine, 3 days of Michael sleeping in the guest room, 3 days of stilted conversations and avoiding eye contact. My promotion has been officially announced. I should be celebrating. Instead, I feel hollow. My phone buzzes with a text from Michael. Working late tonight, don't wait up. I'm looking at my phone, thinking, he's never worked late before. Is he avoiding me, or is something else going on? Over the next 2 weeks, a pattern emerges. Michael comes home later and later. When he is home, he's distant, polite in that way strangers are polite to each other. He doesn't ask about my day anymore. He doesn't bring me coffee in the mornings. The little acts of love that I took for granted have vanished, leaving a gaping hole I never knew existed. I'm sitting at dinner alone again, the third time this week, pushing pasta around my plate and thinking, this can't go on. We need to talk about this. I need to apologize properly. When Michael finally comes home at 9:30, he looks different somehow. There's a new energy about him, a purpose I haven't seen in years. Where have you been? I ask, trying to keep the accusation out of my voice. With Mark, he says simply. Mark, his college roommate who now runs a successful publishing house. Mark, you haven't seen him in years. Michael shrugs. Things change. I feel a flicker of unease. Michael, we need to talk about what happened. I'm sorry about the dinner with Catherine. I was wrong to let her talk about you that way, and I was wrong to join in. He looks at me for a long moment, really looks at me for the first time in weeks. Are you sorry because you hurt me or because you're facing consequences? The question hits me like a slap. That's not fair, isn't it? He sits down across from me, hands clasped on the table. Sarah, I've been doing a lot of thinking. That night, it wasn't just about what you said, it was about what it revealed. What do you mean? I ask, though part of me already knows. You don't respect me, he says simply. Maybe you never have, and I can't be with someone who views me as a disappointment. That's not true. I protest, but even to my own ears, it sounds weak. It is true, he says sadly. And the worst part is, somewhere along the way, I started to believe it too. I started seeing myself through your eyes, as someone who settled, who failed. Tears spring to my eyes. Michael, please. But these past 2 weeks, talking with Mark, reconnecting with old friends, I've remembered something important. There's a new confidence in his voice. I'm not a failure, Sarah. I chose my path deliberately. I'm good at what I do. I matter to my students. My work has purpose. I know that, I whisper. Do you? Because your boss called me a loser who's holding you back and you agreed. The hurt in his eyes is still fresh. You know what Mark said when I told him what happened? He asked why I was still here. A cold feeling spreads through my chest. What are you saying? Michael takes a deep breath. Mark offered me a position at his publishing house, educational content development. It's remote work, which means I can still teach but start building something new. That's great, I say, confusion mixing with relief. See, you can be ambitious too. His expression hardens. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Sarah. You think I took the job to prove something to you, to be ambitious enough for your standards. I took it because it aligns with my values and interests, not to climb some corporate ladder or impress your boss. I didn't mean. You never do, he interrupts. But it keeps happening anyway. He stands up, pushing away from the table. I'll be staying with Mark for a while. I need space to figure out what I want. I'm standing up now too, panic rising in my throat. You're leaving? Just like that? Not just like that, he says quietly. It's been coming for a long time. I just didn't want to see it. I follow him upstairs, watching in disbelief as he packs a suitcase, efficiently, methodically, as if he's thought this through. This is because of one stupid dinner? I ask, desperation making my voice sharp. You're throwing away 7 years of marriage because I made one mistake? Michael stops packing and looks at me with such sadness that it steals my breath. It wasn't one dinner, Sarah. It was dozens of small moments where you made it clear that who I am isn't enough for you. The dinner was just when I finally heard you. He zips his case closed with a finality that echoes through our bedroom. I'll arrange to pick up the rest of my things later, he says. I think it's better if we don't talk for a while. And just like that, he's gone. The front door closing behind him with a soft click that somehow sounds like the end of everything. I'm standing in our suddenly empty house thinking, this can't be happening. He'll come back. He has to come back. But as days turn into weeks, I begin to understand that this time, Michael isn't coming back. I'm sitting in my new corner office, surrounded by the trappings of success, awards on the wall, expensive furniture, a view of the city skyline that most people would envy. It's been 2 months since Michael left. 2 months of throwing myself into work, of staying at the office until midnight, of proving to Catherine and to myself that I'm every bit as ambitious and cutthroat as she believed. My phone buzzes with a text from Lisa, one of the few friends who still checks in on me. Saw Michael today. Thought you should know. My heart lurches. How is he? I type back quickly. The three dots appear, disappear, appear again. Finally, good, different. He's lost weight, got a new haircut. He was having lunch with Mark and some woman from their publishing team. I'm staring at the phone thinking, a woman? Already? My fingers hover over the keyboard, but I don't know what to say. Another text comes through. He looked happy, Sarah. The words hit me like a physical blow. Michael is happy, without me. Meanwhile, I'm sitting alone in an office that suddenly feels cold and empty despite its prestige. That night, I drive by our old favorite restaurant on impulse, and through the window, like some cosmic joke, I see him, Michael, sitting at a table with a woman I don't recognize. She's nothing like me. Curly hair, casual clothes, animated expressions as she talks, and Michael is looking at her the way he used to look at me, with attention, with interest, with warmth. I'm sitting in my car, knuckles white on the steering wheel, thinking, that should be me. We should be in there together, celebrating my promotion, planning our future. But the truth hits me with devastating clarity. Michael and I don't have a future anymore, and deep down, I know it's my fault. The next day, I'm signing the divorce papers that arrived by courier. Michael's attorney has made it clear he wants nothing from me. Not alimony, not the house, nothing but his personal belongings and a clean break. His generosity feels like another indictment of my character. Catherine strides into my office without knocking. Sarah, darling, you look terrible. Late night? I look up at her, really seeing her for the first time. The sharp edges, the calculated smile, the emptiness behind her eyes. Is this what I want to become? I'm signing my divorce papers, I say flatly. Catherine waves a dismissive hand. Oh, that? Well, it's for the best, isn't it? Now you're free to focus on what really matters. She drops a file on my desk. The Richardson account needs your attention. They're threatening to walk. I'm looking at her thinking, this woman encouraged me to throw away the best thing in my life, and now she expects me to care about an account? Did you hear me? Catherine asks, irritation crossing her features. This is a multi-million-dollar client. I heard you, I say quietly, and I don't care. Catherine's eyebrows shoot up. Excuse me? You heard me, I say, standing up. I don't care about the Richardson account. I don't care about impressing you anymore. Sarah, I don't think you understand. No, I understand perfectly, I interrupt. 2 months ago, you came to my house and called my husband, the kindest, most supportive man I've ever known, a loser. And I was so desperate for your approval that I agreed with you. Catherine's face hardens. This is highly unprofessional. You know what's unprofessional? Encouraging your employees to destroy their personal lives for the sake of their careers. I'm shaking now, but I can't stop. Michael wasn't holding me back. You were pushing me toward something empty. If you're quite finished with this little breakdown, Catherine says coldly, we have work to do. I look around my office, at the awards that suddenly seem meaningless, at the view that comes at the cost of 70-hour work weeks, at the woman who represents everything I thought I wanted. I quit, I say simply. Catherine laughs incredulously. Don't be ridiculous. You're emotional right now. Take the afternoon off if you must, but I quit, I repeat more firmly this time, effective immediately. The look of shock on Catherine's face would be satisfying if I wasn't so busy packing my personal items into a box. You're making a huge mistake, she warns. No one walks away from an opportunity like this. I pause at the door of my office, my former office. The mistake was letting you convince me that success looks like this. It doesn't. Not for me. I walk out of Apex Solutions for the last time, leaving behind the corner office, the prestigious title, and the woman who almost turned me into someone I don't want to be. I'm sitting in a small cafe across from Westlake High School, watching the front entrance. It's been 4 months since Michael left, 3 since our divorce was finalized, 2 since I quit my job at Apex. I've spent those months in therapy, confronting uncomfortable truths about myself, my ambition that turned into arrogance, my insecurity that I projected onto Michael, my willingness to sacrifice genuine connection for external validation. Students begin pouring out of the school, and then I see him, Michael, standing at the top of the steps, talking animatedly with a group of teenagers. He looks different from the man I married, more confident somehow, standing taller, smiling more freely. The new haircut Lisa mentioned suits him. So does the light in his eyes that had dimmed during our final years together. I'm watching from behind my sunglasses, thinking, I did that. I dimmed his light. A woman approaches him, the same one I saw at the restaurant. She hands him what looks like a manuscript, their fingers brushing in a way that speaks of familiarity, of connection. Michael's face softens when he sees her, and the pang of jealousy I feel is both expected and deserved. I didn't come here to spy or to cause trouble. I came to deliver a letter, a real, handwritten letter containing all the things I've realized, all the apologies I need to make, all the good wishes I genuinely feel for him, despite everything. I leave it with the school receptionist, marked with his name, and walk away before he can see me. 3 days later, I'm sitting in my new apartment, much smaller than our house, but all I need now, when there's a knock at the door. I open it to find Michael standing there, my letter in his hand. Hi, he says simply. Hi. I reply, heart hammering in my chest. Do you want to come in? He hesitates, then nods. I lead him to my small living room, aware of how different this place is from the home we shared, less polished, less perfect, more authentically me. I got your letter, he says, sitting on the edge of my couch. I meant every word, I tell him. Michael studies me for a moment. You look different. I smile slightly. I am different. Unemployed, for one thing. His eyebrows rise in surprise. You quit Apex? What happened with the big promotion? I realized it wasn't worth what it cost me, I say honestly. Catherine turned out to be exactly who you thought she was. He nods slowly. And what are you doing now? Consulting for nonprofits, I say, helping organizations with missions I actually believe in. The pay is about a third of what I made at Apex, but, I shrug, turns out money isn't everything. A small smile touches his lips. That doesn't sound like the Sarah I knew. She wasn't very happy, I admit, or very kind. We sit in silence for a moment, the weight of our shared history between us. Your letter mentioned therapy, he says finally. I nod. Twice a week for the past few months. It's been illuminating and painful. I'm glad, he says, and I know he means it, not in a vindictive way, but because the Michael I knew always wanted the best for me, even when I couldn't see it myself. I saw you, I confess, at the school and at Giovanni's a few months ago, with someone. Michael's expression is unreadable. Rachel. She's the educational director at Mark's publishing house. She seems nice, I say, forcing the words past the lump in my throat. She is, he says simply, neither confirming nor denying what I suspect, that she's become important to him in a way I once was. I'm happy for you, I tell him, and I'm surprised to find that beneath the hurt, I mean it. You deserve someone who sees you clearly, who values what matters. Michael looks down at the letter in his hands. Why did you write this, Sarah? What do you want from me? I take a deep breath. Nothing. That's the truth. I don't expect forgiveness or reconciliation. I just needed you to know that I understand now what I lost, not just you, but myself, who I became in those last years. I shake my head. That wasn't who I wanted to be. And who do you want to be? He asks quietly. Someone better, I say simply. Someone who doesn't need external validation to feel worthy. Someone who recognizes real value when it's right in front of her. Michael nods slowly. I hope you find that person. He stands to leave, and I walk him to the door. There's so much more I want to say, but I've said it all in the letter. This brief meeting is more than I deserved. At the door, he pauses. For what it's worth, I never thought you were a bad person, Sarah. Just someone who lost her way. Tears spring to my eyes. Thank you for saying that. Take care of yourself, he says, and then he's gone, back to his new life, a life that no longer includes me. I'm sitting on my couch alone, thinking, that's it then, the final goodbye. But as the tears fall, I realize something important. This ending, painful as it is also a beginning. Michael has found his path forward. Now it's time for me to find mine. 1 year later, I'm standing at the back of a crowded bookstore, watching Michael address the audience. His first young adult novel has just been published, the dream he put aside to support mine all those years ago. The book, about a teacher who changes lives in unexpected ways, has been receiving glowing reviews. The crowd is captivated as he reads a passage, his voice confident and warm. Rachel stands off to the side, pride evident in her expression. There's a small diamond ring on her finger that catches the light when she applauds. They've been engaged for 2 months now, according to our mutual friends. I didn't tell Michael I was coming tonight. I slipped in after the reading began and plan to leave before it ends. I'm not here to disrupt his moment or to insert myself into his new life. I'm here because I needed to see this, needed to witness the success of the man I once dismissed as lacking ambition. As Michael signs books and chats with fans, I turn to leave, a copy of his novel tucked under my arm. At the door, I nearly collide with Mark, Michael's publisher and friend. "Sarah?" he says, recognition dawning. "I didn't know you were coming. I didn't tell anyone, I admit. I just wanted to support him from afar." Mark studies me for a moment. He's done well for himself. He has, I agree. I'm genuinely happy for him. "And you?" Mark asks. "Last I heard, you'd left the corporate world behind." I smile slightly. "I'm running a marketing firm that exclusively serves educational nonprofits. It's small but growing, and meaningful in a way my previous work never was." Mark nods approvingly. "Good for you." I glance back at Michael, now laughing with a young reader. "Do you think he's happier now, without me?" Mark gives me a long look. "I think he's becoming who he was always meant to be. And from what I can see, so are you." I nod, blinking back tears. "That's enough then." As I step outside into the cool evening air, I open Michael's book to the dedication page. There, in simple black print, are the words that simultaneously break my heart and heal it. "For all the teachers who showed me the way, including those who taught the hardest lessons." I'm walking back to my car, clutching the book to my chest, thinking, some mistakes can't be undone. Some bridges, once burned, stay ashes. But that doesn't mean you stop building new ones. My phone buzzes with a text from Jason, the kind history professor I've been seeing for the past few months. A man who reminds me of Michael in his genuine goodness, but who is entirely his own person. "How was the reading? Are you okay?" "It was beautiful," I type back. "And yes, I think I finally am." As I drive away from the bookstore, from Michael and his well-deserved happiness, I realize that the most painful ending of my life has led to the most honest beginning. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to find what truly matters. And sometimes, the person you hurt the most is the one who teaches you how to be better, even if they're no longer there to see it.